they're hot. We're gonna have to let them cool down just a little bit here. What I did is I ran a little bit of warm water over these because they've been in the refrigerator to kind of warm them up just a little bit. I don't want to crack these. I know they're tempered glass, but I don't want them to crack. Remember, hot liquid, hot jars. We're going to let the jars cool down just a little bit because the beans are cool. And I just sterilized them inside my canner water. Just a hint of vinegar in there. That just helps keep them sterile. And this is the 1.5 pint jars here. And I like these because they're wide mouth. It's easy to shake the beans out of a wide mouth jar because it doesn't have the shoulder on it. So quarts or 1.5 pints are perfect for green beans. Now I've got my lids in some hot water. It's just a little bit of bubbles on the bottom, just very, very hot water. And I'm gonna let them sit there for about 10 to 15 minutes. And if you can see here, I turn them up every other one. This is so when I pick them up, they don't stick together. All right, canning green beans, I always say salt is for saltaholics, okay? It's not a necessity, but if you do want to use salt, then be sure and use the canning salt so it doesn't cloud up your jars. And canning salt's made specifically for home canning, okay? If you're gonna add the salt, add 1 teaspoon per quart or 1/2 teaspoon per pint. These are 1.5 pints. I'm gonna stick with the 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, I'm gonna stick with just a 1/2 teaspoon. I don't like my green beans to be super salty. I like to salt things and add salt to flavoring when I'm making them. And sometimes I'll add green beans to casseroles, so that might not need anything extra. So this is hard to get into. So I've just got a clean container here, and I'm going to pour the salt into that. There we go. And so I don't forget it, I'm going to sit it right up here up front with my 1/2 teaspoon in here, okay? If you're familiar with canning green beans, then you'll know it's 10 pounds of pressure for 20 minutes for pints and 25 minutes for quarts. That's 20 minutes for pints and 25 minutes for quarts. But these are 1.5 pints, so remember my thing. They don't have a rule on that, so you know it's more than pints because it's 1.5 pints, but it's less than a quart. So you always want to take that upper number. So we're going to process these at quart times. So these are going to get processed at 25 minutes as well because they're 1.5 pints. So we're just going to take that quart and we're just going to add that other 5 minutes to it. That's fine. That'll be perfectly processed for the green beans. All right. And again, you don't have to add the salt. That's entirely up to you. So the jars have cooled. We're not touching them. The jars are cooled. Everything's been cleaned. Our lids are nice and hot. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to start putting and filling the green beans. I warmed them up with a little bit of warm water because they've been in the refrigerator. There we go. And we're going to pack them. You can pack these pretty tight. We're going to have a 1-inch headspace. I know this sounds crazy, but I rinse my beans with just a little bit of Ajax and bleach alternative, just a little bit in the water, and then I rinse my beans 3 times after that. Having my eye to the microscope a few times there in my life, I know that there's things that live in the soil, and there's things that live on vegetables, so the bugs and things, anything out of the garden. Now if you've got like a rusty spot or something like that, or a hollow bean, just go ahead and get rid of it. If the bean is mushy, has mold on it, get rid of it. Rusty looking colors on it, bug bitten, get rid of it. This gives me a chance to actually inspect my beans one more time. And without touching the jar too much, I'm just trying to push down on the beans here just a little bit so I can get a few extras in here. There we go, 1-inch headspace. All right, now I'm going to be using my funnel. And the bags are reusable. Just rinse them out, turn them inside out, rinse them out, use them again. And I mark my beans where the beans actually came from as well. Give them a little tap if you have to, that's fine. Push them in there, that's fine. My kids used to fill the jars with the beans for me. They say their best memory is going over to their grandmother's house and stuffing jars with green beans. I remember them standing up on their little chair and their little aprons, and I made all the girls little aprons. I still have them. Now here I have my water kettle of boiling water. It's here and available, hot and ready. we're just going to sprinkle on about half a teaspoon. That's a half a teaspoon of salt, and that's that canning salt. So half a teaspoon of canning salt. We're going to take and we're going to pour on the boiled water. It's fine if you go over the inch now, because when you debubble this, you'll get your inch. So now we're just going to run a plastic spatula or something down in here, and we want to make sure that the green beans are under the water. You have to give it a little tap, get those green beans under that boiling water. Okay, there we go. Now see, I told you that would be fine. Now you take your measurement. We have a little bit more than an inch. Okay, we got our inch, there we go. Do the same for this one. Make sure you get all the air bubbles out, because your jar can still seal, because if you get like a buckled lid, that's not good. That's not good. You shouldn't have any buckles in your lid. Means you got an improper seal. Here we go. Try not to touch that in. Let's double check our amounts here, and we can pour that water over into the next jar. Just keep track of which ones that you've salted. That's perfect right there. All right, a couple of clean napkins here. I'm gonna dip right here into my lid water. There we go. Try to get all those bubbles out. You don't want to tap very hard. And this was, like I said, I just put in the boiling water. That's all I added. I didn't add any broths or anything like that to this. It's just filtered water. And what I did is I took tap water, put it in my Brita filter, poured it into my tea kettle here, and then poured that into here. So it is just filtered tap water. You can use whatever you like. Now on these, I like to take my finger and I like to feel for cracks and just get this just a little bit damp. My grandmother taught me that, and I've only had one failed jar of green beans because I forgot to debubble it in almost 36 years of canning. And remember, finger tight is just that. The air must come back in here and must get pressure in here and then seal it down. So the air bubbles still and the oxygen in here has to be able to escape. All right, so finger tight, and I'm gonna do it one more time here and show you finger tight. Okay, so sit it on here, and yes, I line up my lids. Sorry, too picky. All right, check my jar for any cracks or breaks. Finger tight is this, right there, that's finger tight, okay? Just when you feel it start to give. And when you pull these out of the canner, the rings might be loose. Do not tighten them down. I believe Tatler lids are the kind of lids you'd want to do that with. These are not Tatler lids. These are ball jarred lids, okay? These are the disposable lids, the one-time use lids, all right? Now, if your green beans are going to float up a little bit, perfectly normal, okay? No tipping because there's salt in here. Pressure canning, it's about 4 inches of water to start with. By the time I get all the jars in, the water will probably come up to about 3/4 up to the shoulder of the jar. And when you handle the jar, be sure and put it down, slide up, and catch this glass shoulder right here, this little elbow here of the jar right here. Very important. For each jar, a new napkin too. All right, so we're just gonna keep going. The canner right now, I don't have the lid on the canner. I don't have it on or anything like that. I just have it sitting in that boiling water that I used to boil and sterilize my jars. Remember, nothing is completely sterile, even when you boil your jars, until it comes out of that pressure canner. All right, so me touching it now, we have live things that live in our skin. If we were in a germ-free world, we wouldn't be alive today. Think about that one. That's true. If you're a lab tech, you know that. So now we're just going to go ahead with our next thing of beans, and we're just going to keep going like this. Now I'm going to tell you, as a beginner canner, there is nothing easier to start pressure canning, not water bath canning. This is a low acid food, so we must pressure can all low acid foods. Green beans are low acid foods. They must be pressure canned. And again, the salt is not necessary. You can reduce it all the way down to 1/8 or 1/4 teaspoon if you want to. I don't think I've ever canned green beans and left them out, but I know women who do. So I mean, I always put just a little bit of salt in there, just a little bit. Remember, spices and flavorings in canning actually get stronger. They actually get stronger over time. So if you spice a soup or can a soup or something, remember that flavoring will get stronger. It doesn't lose its flavor. It can actually get stronger. So watch the amount of spices and the herbs and things that you add to foods that you're canning. And there are some herbs that you cannot can. So, or you shouldn't can. So it goes. I'll have to do a video on that, won't I? What herbs they don't recommend you canning. Okay, I'm going to put in my 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Again, I don't put in very much. I blend it kind of in there because usually I put it in before the water, don't I? Make sure I get all the bubbles out. Get it packed in there nicely. I'm probably put a couple more beans in here. Oh, there's a bean with a bug bite. If you catch them, toss them. Got my 1-inch head space. Dip into my lid water. It's got just a little bit of vinegar in it. You can use straight up vinegar if you like, but my lid water, I mean, it's got just a little bit of vinegar in it from the canner. I just dip in my little butter pan into the canner and get my canning water, and it's already got vinegar in it. That just helps sterilize a jar, helps keep them clean, helps keep them from getting cloudy. All right, a couple little taps to be sure. Get my finger wet, get that nice wet seal going. Finger tighten. That's it. All right. Keep on going. I love canning green beans. It is my favorite thing to can because the kids can help. They can stuff jars. This can definitely be a family affair. It can definitely be a family affair. Push them down in there. Get them tight in there. And I love the smell of green beans after they've been freshly snipped. I love the smell of green beans. Don't forget your salt if you're going to add it. Don't forget your salt. Oops. Definitely overfilled that one. It's fine. Okay, debubble. And again, don't ever forget to debubble green beans. There's a lot. See all the bubbles coming up? There are a lot of pockets of bubbles in here. Like I said, I even give it that little tap. That's very important. This in and kind of pushes them in. I got room for a few more here. There we go. Like the top, one little grain of salt could keep this from sealing. So, damp finger trip. Line up my lid. Finger tight. And carry over to the canner. I love canning, and I love hearing those jars pop. And sharing my produce with others. When I get these filled up the rest of the way, we will be right back. All right, canner's full. Make sure that the water does not cover the jar. Sorry if there's water on the lid, like that right there, that's fine. But you can see here, the level of the water with the jars in are a little, about halfway to a little more than halfway by the time you fill it up. But if you fill along the side of your canner, it should have some grooves in there. There's actually a groove for canning pints or a groove for pressure canning quarts or the 1.5 pints, which are the same height as the quarts. All right, we're going to add our splash of vinegar to the water. Keep our jars nice and clean. We have hard water, so that's fine. We're going to blow through the lid Feel that? That's fine. We're going to check everything's working. Everything's on tight. Our blowout valve looks good. Yep, still a little bit of oil left on our seal. Shutting just a little bit hard. I'm going to go ahead and oil my seal. Just a little bit of oil before we get started here. Just a little touch of vegetable oil. So I'm adding just a little touch of vegetable oil here on my seal. I've ran it a few times with meat, and that runs for 90 minutes, so. Make sure that's in there well. All right, there we go. Much better. Okay. Make sure your canner is no more than an inch over the heating ring, so you get even heating inside the canner. And if you're canning on a glass top stove, make sure that your manufacturer says that you can can on it. And you'll want to use on a glass top stove a flat bottom canner. Do not get an American canner on a glass top. Unless your manufacturer says it's okay, it's too heavy. So this is the largest canner that I can use, this Presto canner. It's got a nice flat bottom. This is the one that I can use on my glass top. So don't go off what other people say. Go off what your manufacturer of your stove says and do what is right for you. And we're just going to sit back here and wait till it steams. When we get a nice steam from 6 to 8 inches off from right here, we're going to start our timer for 10 minutes. When this is steamed with no weight on it for 10 minutes, and I keep these right next to my drawer here, my spice drawer, then we're going to add this on after it steams for 10 minutes. And once it starts rocking, we're going to adjust the heat. And when we get a steady rock, we're going to time this for 25 minutes. 20 minutes for pints, 25 minutes for quarts, or the pint and halves. All right, we steam vented for 10 minutes. We added our weight, and now we are getting that nice rocking motion. Our lock is up. And now we're going to set the timer for 25 minutes. That's 25 minutes for quarts, or these pint and a half, and 20 minutes for pints. All right, I'm going to adjust the heat here so we get a nice rocking motion. Just going to gradually drop the heat, just gradually. Before we start our timer, we want that heat. We want this to be nice and even heat, nice and even rocking motion before we actually start the timer. Don't leave the kitchen, don't leave the area, and make sure that pets and children and things are kept at bay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and start my clock for 25 minutes. We'll be right back. Okay, our pin is dropped. We're going to make sure to open this lid this way so it protects our face. A little bit of steam out first. Whew. There we go. Oh, that smells so good. All right, we just got the lid off here. We're going to let them sit in their little cocoon because the air conditioner's on. We're having about a 97-degree day, so the air conditioner is on. And I don't want to set these into a draft. So I'm going to let these kind of sit in their little cocoon for maybe another 3 minutes. And we'll be right back. Popping in here. All right, 3 minutes are up. They're already popping and doing their thing. One off the side here. No tipping. Not on green beans. And there shouldn't really be too much water on top of them anyway. Be sure and give a little space between them. Be sure and sit them on a cloth, a tea towel, or in this case I've got like a padded canning pad here. That one's sealed as I was pulling it out of the canner. Ooh, listen to them. This one's getting ready to pop. Zoom down on it and then maybe you can see it pop. Oh, there it went just as I was, this one right here is getting ready to pop, this one. Keep an eye on that one. I bet you it pops here while we're getting this one out. Aren't those beautiful? And here we have 8. There's no leakage in here, that's fine. If you do get leakage in there, that is fine. Doesn't hurt anything. I'm going to go ahead and take some of the water out. So it's nice and hot to heat up my lids. So I'm just going to heat up my lids for the next one. Let those lids soak for about 10 minutes and we're just going to keep this process going. I'm going to go ahead and take the one here that I had extra, tighten the ring down on it. And I'm going to sit it down here and keep it warm, and I'm going to add some more water to the canner here. Oh, did it go? Okay, so every one of them is popped except for this one, and it's getting ready to go next as well. All right, and here we have it. 8 1.5 pints of green beans. And yes, floating to the top is just because I didn't pack them really tight. I like to have an inch headspace on green beans. That's what it calls for. And what will happen is when these cool, the green beans will drop down and lower themselves down into the water. All right, and the green beans turning this color are perfectly normal. This is the color they're supposed to be after they've been canned. So as a seasoned canner, I would say green beans are the easiest as far as pressure canning goes. So give green beans a try. If you did and you had fun and you enjoyed doing it and proud of yourself, be sure and leave a message below and let me give you praise for trying it too, okay? Anyway, this is Janie Pendleton. Be sure and hit that subscribe button. Be sure and hit that thumbs up. Oop, another one popped. Be sure and hit that thumbs up. Show your support for our channel. Let us know that we're bringing you the type of DIY videos that you are enjoying. All right? We love you. Go with God. Subscribe and share this video.